For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You know, last week on the show, I didn't realize that I would get such a response from people because I was talking about how we, 4 or 5 years ago, our company, we were going to be producing a podcast about inmates who are turning their life around and who are inspiring other inmates to do the same. So that could be that they had started, a club or a group, or they were just somehow being a positive, role model or influence within their inmate, within their housing community of where they're locked up. And I'd mentioned about a few of the people that we were messaging back and forth who were going to be featured on this podcast, though it fell through. We never got it off the ground. And so I started to share a story about how one of the guys ended up committing suicide just a few months ago. And I felt kind of affected by it, though, because I had spent 3 or 4 years messaging this guy back and forth on a regular basis. I would say, every week or two, we would have a very lengthy message going back and forth. And when I read on the news, I didn't know, obviously he didn't message and say, I'm killing myself tomorrow. I found out because I tried to send him another message online and it said user not found. And I was like, what happened? Was he released then? Maybe. And then when I Googled his name, I saw that, he was found dead in his cell by an apparent suicide. So it took me a moment because I had to sort of go, wow, this is somebody who, literally for years, was messaging back and forth, and all of a sudden it's just gone, right? It's just done. There's no goodbye. There's no opportunity to, I had sat there and typed for an hour and a half my next reply to this guy. And then all of a sudden it's gone. And so I posed the question to you on the show last week. One, would you carry on a relationship with somebody? I'm not talking romantic because I'm married. I'm happily married. It wasn't like that at all. But we'd messaged these guys when we thought that we were going to be doing a project that they would be featured on. When it fell through, it was kind of like, well, I didn't just want to go and say to these guys, all right, well, peace out, see ya, because they were genuinely good people. They were making a difference. They were proving themselves to be turning their lives around. And so it led to the discussion about, would you trust somebody? Could you ever trust them? They're convicted of murder. Some of the guys they admitted to it. They did it. They owned it. I did it. So, would you trust anything they say, right? Does lockup harden them? Are they jaded? Are they just, So I had a lot of responses. I've been emailing you guys back and forth, just like we were inmates. And we're going to share some of your feedback and talk about just the other discussions that I've had by email with some of you. So that's coming up on the Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here on the Scribble. All right, so a relationship with an inmate, is that something that you could do? You know, I talked about that last week, and it's strange. I guess if you have that emotional connection, right? If that's what you're looking for, if you know full well the person is never going to get out, right? They don't have an appeal. There's no possible chance that they're going to get out. I mean, really, what's the purpose, right? And perhaps it's companionship. Maybe you just need somebody to talk to, right? Now, because you can do phone calls or video chats, as we've said, you know, then maybe that's all you need. I know plenty of people who who kind of want like a long distance relationship. I mean, my cousin, she's been married almost 40 years, by the way. She's been, her husband does maintenance for one of the big retail chains. And so when they do like store renovations or whatever it is, he'll travel for 2-3 weeks at a time, sometimes like 2 months at a time. And they talk every day, yes, and they're committed to each other. It's not anything, but she likes it. He likes having kind of his own place. They have that distance when they're together. It's great. He comes home for whatever it is, a week or two at a time, or he can take weekends and fly home, whatever it is. And that works for them. And that's great. And so, some people, you'd much rather have their partner that they communicate with, verbally or whatever, and then only physically you're with them every once in a while, right? So for me, because when I was emailing a bunch of you guys back and forth, and I'm asking, would you ever be interested in somebody, whatever, and so people flipped out on me and said, well, you've got these guys, these inmates who, didn't you develop any feelings? First of all, flat out, no, because one, I'm married, and two, I'm also very impatient. So when my husband started to email our radio shows back, and let me rewind in case you don't know that story. When I was on the radio, I was getting these emails from this guy. The English was broken, so I knew that he either wasn't in, North America or whatever. We had listeners from all over the world. He's Brazilian. He was listening in Brazil on a streaming station. And we carried on for about 1.5 years of video chatting, literally for hours every day. And yes, there was a strong connection, there were feelings, whatever, but I never considered him to be my partner because we had never met in person. And that's something where I was just like, no, I'm not going to say that he's my boyfriend or my lover, because we've never like met, face to face. And so I've said I've never been in a relationship with somebody that I have not, met one-on-one. That's just... And I also am very impatient. I'm impatient. I'm really, 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 really impatient. Ask my husband when he was living on one continent and I'm living in the other. We had different time zones. We had different, we had language barriers. We had everything. I was very impatient. If I didn't get, text message replies within whatever time, I was that girl. So for me, if this is a romantic partner, if this is somebody that I'm, quote unquote, engaged to or married to, whatever it is, I am not waiting 3 days for a response, right? Because that's how long these messages sometimes take for you to get back. Well, it could even take a week, depending on how, I write something. It takes 2 or 3 days to get to him. He reads it. He responds. It takes 2 or 3 days for him to reply back. Now, I'm not waiting 5 or 6 days to hear from my partner. Sorry, not happening. No, not happening. It's not happening. So for me, let's just say that I did develop feelings for one of the guys. I would burn it to the ground because I would just get so fed up. I would be the one. I would be getting ditched by an inmate. How sad would that be, ladies and gentlemen, if Jeremy Bradley is all of a sudden an inmate who can't go anywhere, has nobody talking to him, has no personal connections on the outside world aside from, close family and friends. He's going to ghost me. I could not tell you. I would never show my face. I wouldn't be able to get over that. I get ghosted by a fucking inmate. No. Or find out that he's cheating on me with somebody. So wait, he's not having sex with somebody. So is that cheating? Oh boy. All right. So no. I can understand having an emotional connection. Like I said, if you're having those, if it's phone calls or whatever it is back and forth, okay, fine. But you've got to do, I would think you have to do that for a long time. No, I wasn't lonely or, desperately single when I met Charles, when we started conversing. But once you develop a connection after, hours and hours, like when I say that it was literally hours I know what the word literally means. And so, yes, we would be on a video call 3 hours every night. And so when it didn't happen, the nights where he was like, I'm going out tonight, I would feel like I was being left behind. It didn't work for me. So the sooner we could get together and, look at, 8-9 years later, here we are. But no, I would not be able to. First of all, the person's in a different country. At the time when we first started doing this, it was during Corona. So I was in Canada. But yeah, like what would I gain from that? This is somebody who's in another country, who's never going to be able to get out, that I can't have, a physical relationship with. There's no upside for me. And then secondly, you got the murder aspect of it too. And knowing that, let's say, this guy in Florida it was a love triangle. It was a love thing. So he's killed over love. So, I got to think about that too, right? So no, I setting aside my marriage, that my current situation, I wouldn't have the patience for it. I would be demanding too much attention. That somebody who's on a limitation, right, who's got restrictions for how often he can communicate, that wouldn't work for me. I need somebody who's gonna text me in the morning to say I'm thinking about you. I don't need that, but what I mean is I need that sort of routine, right? I need that kind of, all right, well, I know that he likes this, I can do this for him. What can I do for somebody that's there, right? I mean, now, let's shift gears though, because one of the things that somebody had mentioned to me is that these inmates try to strike up relationships and play head games with somebody because they do want something from them. They are wanting money, right? Because the guys can, buy better food, or they can buy whatever it is. They can buy headphones. They can buy, electronics. They can buy personal things. And so, 2 or 3 people were saying, I mentioned that show 60 Days In on A&E where they send the people in. You have the people who will manipulate, right? Because it's like, oh, can you send me some money? First of all, homo don't play that game. So if any of those guys would ever ask me for money, it would not happen. No. Nope. I wrote a book on saving money. Why am I'm going to go and give some stranger? No, we actually did have that, by the way. Let me just quickly. One of the guys, I don't remember who it was. One of the two. Oh, okay. We had more than one guy in Florida. It was a guy in Florida who was asking. He wanted to get a big winter coat because it's cold. And I was like, what? Why does he wants money so he can buy a coat? And I was kind of like, that's not what this is sort of a business relationship that we're carrying on. Like, this is not, I'm not your friend. I'm not giving you things. I'm not buying you things. That's not happening. But I could imagine that would be very appealing, right? If you've got somebody who, let's say that I did have a crush or I was interested. I mean, I would do that. Just like you've seen on the show Catfish, right? You've had people who are guilted into or pressured into buying the person something or sending them money or whatever it is because you like them. They're going to like you more if you do that. That's going to show that you care and they can depend on you and you're reliable. And that would never fly for me. And as it is, I mean, even people with my relationship, when they see that I've got this tall, tanned, ripped bodybuilder husband, do you know how many people thought that it's like a sugar daddy kind of a thing where he's using me for my money and, he's coming from a third world Brazil and, I've got this established, media company and a shit ton of money. And I've said to everybody from the very beginning, I'm known as Winnipeg Cheapskate in my hometown. I wrote a book about saving money. There's no way in hell I'm giving a man money. Period. End of story. Not happening ever. We could even get my husband on the phone right now. How much money have I physically ever given him? Zero. I've managed his career as a model and I take my cut. So essentially he's paying me. There we are. Huh? I'm the prostitute now, everybody. All right, let's not go there. But anyway, so that's some of the messages that we were getting, or that I was getting last week after the show, was that people say, you got to be careful because these guys will manipulate and they're going to say what they can because, what have they got to lose, right? They know that they are going to get other pen pals or other, people, and all they need to do is turn on the charm. That's all they got to do is, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's the person on the outside who has reached out to the inmate, right? It's not like the inmate is all of a sudden going, oh, hey, Melissa. Oh, hey, Jenny. Oh, hey, Sam. Hey, Bob. I really like you. You're cute. No, it's the outsider who saw them on TV or read their story in the news or whatever it was, reaches out. Hello, Luigi, what's his name? Mangione? Hello, there you go, right? He could probably easily say to the hundreds of men and women who are writing to him, oh, I just need, could you just send me $20? Can you do you know he would be making a killing behind bars? He probably is. Have we reached out to him? Do we know where he is? We should get him chatting. Luigi, can you send us some nudes? Because you're fucking hot, right? No, but that's right. You'd have that where he knows that he could easily be asking people to send him money, to, do whatever. Hey, start a GoFundMe for me. Hey, add to the GoFundMe. Hey, do this, do that. And people would. And, if he wants to be a conniving, whatever, son of a bitch, then he's already a murderer, allegedly, right? What has he got to lose? It's not like this. It's not like that would ruin his reputation, folks, right? Let's just be clear on that. So, again, share your thoughts with me, live@jbonair.com. Could you fall for an inmate? live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
That is a very, okay, I'm going to give you some behind the scenes information here. When we have our breaks, so, minute and a half, whatever it is, sometimes we'll have a discussion about what I was just talking about, or just something comes up, and then it's food for thought. And then when I come back on the show, I'm like, okay, wait a second. I was going to talk about something else, but that was a really good discussion topic that we had. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to just scrap what we were about to talk about. One of the discussions that we were just having is, when you get arrested or whatever, you get one phone call. I think you might be able to make a couple calls, but you used to get one phone call, right? And from what I ever saw on TV or the news or on movies, it was kind of like, who are you going to call? You're calling your mom, you're calling your partner, you're calling your brother. Who's going to bail you out? You get one fucking phone call. And so we were talking about, if you did call somebody, so let's say it is your partner, your mom, whatever it is, and you said, Mom, I just got arrested. What would she think that you did? What would be her... So if I said, Mom, what do you think I did? Mom, why do you think I was arrested? What would she say? What would your own mom think that you did wrong that would get you arrested? And so we were just having that discussion. And so Bonnie and a couple of my colleagues had said, oh, that would be, a driving thing, cutting somebody off or whatever it was. And after I was laughing at everybody and they looked at me and I thought, I don't know. I mean, I'm an asshole. So maybe I would have somebody caused a scene and I had to defend myself and there was a fight. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm a goody two shoes. I'm kind of, I don't know. There's nothing, our business doesn't, commit any crimes. I live a pretty boring life. We don't really do much. What would I get arrested for? I don't know. My husband's got paperwork that he's legally allowed to be here, so it's not that. I'm not harboring a... I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Give me some time. I might not have an answer this show, but Certainly. So tell me about that. Send me an email. You get one phone call. You call your bestie. You call your best friend. And you say, I got arrested. What would they automatically assume that you did? Email me live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com. I don't know. I could see myself like, I'm trying to think, not bullying or harassing. Like I'd just have it out with somebody. Be like, you know what? I'd probably say something really rude because I lack patience with idiots. So, but you can't get arrested for just saying something though. And I wouldn't hit. I'm not a violent. I've never been in a fight in my life, so it's not that I would hit somebody. What would I have done? I don't know. I don't. I'm a really boring person. I don't know. Well, here's the thing. It would be something that I probably wasn't aware of. When I bought my house, so now we're going back well over 17 years now, I got a ticket. I got a threatening letter from the city in the mail that I didn't have handrails on my front stairs. And so you had to do this. You had to install handrails or else you had a $1,000 fine or up to 6 months behind bars. So I could see... But that's a really extreme example. Like, I don't think the city, they'll give you, I have the money, I can do it. But it would be something like that, probably that I wasn't even aware of. You have people like at airports where you're just kind of like, oh, I didn't know that I couldn't bring that. We had a situation, by the way, when we were taping shows in Panama. This is, 6-7 years ago, I guess now. Oh, maybe 8, whatever. And when we landed, when I got to Panama, when you get through like customs and security and you have to go through in their country now, right? And there was a sign that you were limited to how many mobile devices that you could have. So like you were only allowed, maybe it said 2 phones. And when I was traveling, when we were doing our shows, I would have 3 phones. I have 3 phones legitimately for myself. I've got personal, business, and then we would have ones where it is for taking pictures or whatever for this content. So my business one is email and files and whatever. My personal one is just that. And then the third one would be for capturing the media, right? So capturing the pictures, the, imagery, that kind of a thing. And so I had 3. And I remember when we got to Panama that I looked and I saw that and I was just like, oh shit, I don't know how closely they look at you here. I don't know. Do they, right? Like when you go to Mexico, you can pretty much just go fucking right through. They don't even, look. But I didn't know I'm in another, see, when you're Canadian and you're going to the States or Mexico, you kind of get a bit of, oh, well, we're sort of neighbors, right? I'm a Panama. I don't know. Do they lock people up here very easily? Like what's the deal? So that I did have a legitimate fear, like, oh shit, if they do look and they see, maybe they would just take away your third phone. I don't know. Maybe they give you the opportunity. Well, you can send it in the mail to yourself, or you can put it in a locker here and then you can come and get it when you're leaving our country. But worst case scenario for me was like, I'm going to get busted because they're going to think, wait a second, why does this guy have so much electronics with him? Uh-oh. Meanwhile, I was on a tourism trip with the government, but the rule is the rule. So that's where I could see maybe if I was traveling internationally and there was like, just not a gray area, but it's just something that you wouldn't have even known before you went there. Who's going to Google that? Who's going to research that before they fly to a country like that? You're going to look for bigger things, right? Like, am I allowed to have such and such content on my phone? You've heard, and rightly so, are they going to search? They're going to find child porn, right? If they're going to find kiddie porn on your phone, well, yes, you should get arrested for trying to bring that into another country, or even just having it on your phone, period, right? But I'm just saying, like, I don't know, who's going to look and see, oh, well, I'm only allowed to bring 4 pairs of shoes into this country. Oh, shit, you're not looking for things like that. So that would be why I would get arrested, would be something that I just had no idea about. I could plead ignorance, but it's still the rule, right? And I broke it, so... That's not a cop-out answer. They just said cop-out in my ear. I don't, excuse me, people who have worked for me for 20 years now, Bonnie Winters, like, there's nothing that I would do. I don't do anything. I have such a I'm talking, by the way, across the room right now. You can't see this. Tell me, Bonnie, in my ear, they can't hear you, but if we can get her a microphone, what would it be? I don't do anything. I'm overtaxed, so don't even say tax evasion. Trust me, I pay more taxes than most people. Yeah, see, she's even like, oh, you gotta, no, I really don't. I really don't have anything that's, dramatic, so there you go. Anyway, tell me what you would get, what would they suspect, your loved one? What would they suspect that you were picked up for? Live@jbonair.com. Are we out of time already? We're going to do another break and back on the Scribble right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. We actually did have one more topic to go over, but we've got about 5 minutes left in the show, and it's just, you know how long and rambling my stories are. We wouldn't have time to get to it. But definitely trust is an issue when it comes to, somebody who's locked up. And like I said on the last episode, where I didn't realize that inmates had access to something like a tablet that can do video calls and all that other stuff. Like, I thought when you got a phone call, yes, you get that one phone call when you're arrested, right? Of, who you can call to get, bail or whatever it is. But I didn't know, like, did you have to be in there? Did you have to be in lockup for a month with good behavior and then you're awarded one phone call? Like, I didn't know any of that kind of stuff. And then come to find out, especially in the United States, as I mentioned, that it's, prison is a business. So you've got access to a phone and email if you buy it, if you pay for it. And so it's fascinating to me because you have these people who are locked up who, their money is essentially taken away from them physically, right? They don't have access to a bank machine. They don't have access to something like that. So you're relying on either somebody having access to your stuff or getting money from people. And so I just kind of think about that going, wow, that would be like me having to basically have my mom give me money again. Like I was, living at home getting an allowance. That's what it would be like. And that would be just so humiliating for me. Like, I don't know. Now, the good thing is that I have a lot of money. So for me, if I did get arrested in Panama for having too many electronic devices, I could just, throw somebody my bank card and go, I'm good for money. So I can have the nicest stuff in here. And I'd probably get jumped and beaten for it. So I'd have to hide those things. But I don't know. Are there many places to hide stuff in jail? I don't think so. Well, if you watch that show 60 Days In, which I had never heard of until a couple of years ago. Actually, I think it was one of the inmates that had mentioned the show to me when we were messaging back and forth. So, I don't know. Like, for me, I realize that there are some people who, what they do is unforgivable. So you can have, let's say, your Jeffrey Epstein or your Harvey Weinstein or Diddy or whoever it is. And, do those people deserve another chance? Probably not. Not to say that, somebody murdering somebody is, he just had a slip up and he only stabbed the person 47 times. It could have been 53, but, and I think it takes into account how long they've been there, right? The word is always reformed. Are they reformed? Have they turned their life around? Do they realize the error of their ways? We see that with the Menendez brothers, right? I mean, that's a big story this year in the news, right? 30 years after the brothers murdered their parents. Is the big debate is, are they rehabbed so that they could be productive in society? Are they going to be a danger to society? Are they, where do they stand? Do they have a chip on their shoulder, right? They've been locked up for 30 years. Their case is so high profile. Maybe they're going to come out with a grudge and they could all of a sudden just get violent and lash out at the people who, had a hand in their lockup, right? I mean, you just don't know. So, you have to kind of just see. So I don't know anybody. Well, I do know somebody who's been locked up, and I was going to get to that, but maybe we'll carry it over to the next. Are we going to do 3 shows in a row about prison? This is crazy. Me, the person who's like the most straight-edged person who... I've never even physically touched a cigarette, by the way. Have I mentioned that before? I've never even physically held a cigarette in my hand. So for me to get, picked up on drug charges or something, never going to happen. Never gonna happen. I've never done that. I'm as like straight edged as they come. That's why, going back to that whole thing about like, Jeremy, why were you arrested? I couldn't even, I don't know. Don't know. Something, maybe I didn't renew a permit or something that would be the only thing. Yeah. I'm a very, very boring person. Anyway, it has been fascinating, by the way, these this last week since the previous episode to hear from you and to engage back and forth. And I enjoy hearing and learning from other people. I would have been totally closed off if you would have said to me like 10 years ago, hey, would you be messaging back and forth with a convicted murderer? I would say, oh God, no, he's a parasite. Let him rot in jail. I don't want anything to do with that. But it's eye-opening because once you experience that, once you're exposed to it, you have a different outlook, I think. So, do I agree with these people? Do I side with them and say, oh, well, he should be released? No. But he's a good conversationalist. He's got a heart. Yes, he murdered somebody, but again, it's just, hey, the Menendez brothers murdered parents of all people. Well, but they were being abused and whatever, right? So it's a bit of a different story. Anyway, email me live, Live, at jbonair.com. live at jbonair.com, and I'm officially declaring it now. We're gonna have a third episode about prison and prison life, and if you know an inmate, because I do know one, and I will share that story with you coming up next week on the show. So once again, that email address is live, Live, at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much. It's been fun writing back and forth with you all the week, so we'll do it again right after this. Bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some